Hey everybody, this is pretty cool. Okay, so I'm going to start my first little tutorial on just kind of default like what I would do if I were coming to a photo that I wanted to fix up for myself. And I tried to choose 4 different photos that have not very different lighting, but some variants. This one, I love how I shot it. This is straight out of the camera. This is also great straight out of the camera, but this, Katie Beverly, not good. Look how underexposed that is, but I will show you how I fix it up. And lastly, this one is a little dark for me. It was shot in a church. There wasn't too much more I could do to increase this exposure without a tripod, but I will fix it up in post. So let's first, I'm working in Bridge, by the way. That is my preferred method, but a lot of these same things can be done in Lightroom, just the same exact way. I'm going to select these 4 photos and pull them into Adobe Camera Raw. What you can do if you don't want to drag and drop is you can go File, Open, in Camera Raw. Click that, but I can just drag and drop from my Bridge into Photoshop. So this is what I look at when I have my raw processing starting. You'll see that this area with the panels is super similar to Lightroom. So a lot of these things I'm thinking you can duplicate it exactly. And if you don't have Lightroom, Adobe Camera Raw is where it's at. So I'm going to start it with this one because I am going to get ready to post this one on Instagram pretty soon. And I love this picture. I love this bride. They were such a beautiful couple. So Catholic, so amazing, and I find her just gorgeous. So let's first talk about how this image was shot really quickly. As you can see, I shot it already in what is really good light. This is straight into the camera. My settings you can see right here. This is what I shot with my 50mm 1.2 lens. I stopped up a little bit to 2.5. I rarely shoot wide open anymore. At 1.2 unless I am able to really take my time and nail it. But when I am working with clients really quickly, I just got so annoyed with getting photos back that were not pin sharp, and it's still such an amazing lens that 2.5 is pretty amazing. So ISO 200, I was in a little bit of shade, so I guess 100 was not bright enough for me, but I try to keep my ISO as low as it possibly can go. And here I am at 1/320th to capture a quick movement. Maybe I could have gone to ISO 100, but anyway. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop this because when I'm composing my images, this is not going to be a perfect crop, by the way. Look at this. This is going to annoy me. But composition-wise, you don't want a lot of dead space around. And this is not the most perfectly composed photo at all. I see a lot of foot space here that I'm not a fan of. And also extra head space, but I do want to capture the width of her dress. Ideally, I would probably, to make it like perfect, I would just like, what do I do? I would make it like more of a square crop. Where am I? 3 to 4. This is more of like what I would consider to be like the right ratios, but I'm just going to keep it my 2 to 3 ratio. That's like what all my pictures are. For album design, it makes it easier if you have your pictures the same width. Anyway, Instagram crops it in a little bit, so actually I kind of like that. It's going to look more square on Instagram. So the first thing I do is I look at my exposure. Right now she looks pretty darn perfectly exposed, but my main focus is skin, and I go, because I like things to kind of look high key and light and bright, I push the skin as far as it can go without looking blown out. Like, that is too much. So I probably would leave it right where, I mean, really, it was shot really well. Okay, just not really well, just like exactly what I want my skin to look like. Okay, highlights. I'm going to go down a little bit with my highlights because I do not want to lose the detail in her dress. It's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to do that, and some of it came back. One thing that is done in every single picture that I take is I am always increasing my shadows. To me, this helps with the light, bright area look. Okay. I don't want to go up too far, but I do want to pick up, like I'm looking at her hair, for instance, and you can see the texture kind of come back in her hair when I go up, just a little bit. And then I lost contrast when I went up with my shadows to pick up that hair. So I will bring back the contrast and make it pop by doing what I always do, and that's kicking down the blacks. Okay, so when you have an image that's shot in really good light already, your adjustments are going to be like super freaking easy. I would leave it right at that. I am a very neutral to cool, well, neutral photographer. I guess maybe sometimes I warm things up, but I am pretty much, I'm looking at her skin. I do not want it looking cool. This is, in my opinion, cool, and that is too warm for me. So I'm just going to go as shot. Let's see. The one thing that I do to each and every one of my photos is this little secret here. I'm looking at these panels, right? The fourth one in. I have control over each and every color in the photo. I am a person who is anti-green. In this photo, actually, it's not looking too bad because of the nature of this green foliage. It's not too like neon green, but I still probably going to take down those greens a little bit because that's what I always do. So let's just desaturate the greens. Really trendy right now, obviously, is like that film photographer look. A lot of the presets, I'm sure, are that you can buy that make things look like they're film. I'm sure they're taking down greens or changing green into blue. See how you can change green into blue? Watch this, just really quickly. If I have my greens and I go like this with them, look at that. Look how blue they get. Obviously that looks gross, but for film presets, if you want something to look a little bit more like film, some of the greens look a little bit more like blues, so they change hues on those individual color tones. Anyway, but this is what I do. I take down greens always. Sometimes if you are shooting in the Midwest, or even here in San Diego, I can sometimes get it, but the neon green look, that's like so neon-y if you're in the middle of a green field, you can take down yellows and make it look less neon. The final thing that I do that is like my little secret, hold on, it was already showing. Okay, I'm sorry, this is how it looked straight at the camera vignette-wise. But the light, bright, airy look that I like in a lot of times, I do an anti-vignette. This is a vignette. You know what this is. I don't like that. I go the other way. Look at that. And I immediately am brightening it up around the edges so that it looks like light was just infused into this photo. And that is it. That is like totally what I would do with this image. So I'm going to move on. Maybe I should stop this. I don't know. You guys can just pause or stop watching if you get bored of this. So this is my photo number 1. I'm going to leave it yellow because when I leave this labeled yellow, it's telling me that for some reason I want to pull this into Photoshop. I actually would leave this exactly as is for the client, but I'm going to pull this into Photoshop after I'm done with all these adjustments to show you how I would finalize this picture, say for print. Okay. Let's look really quickly at this image and where it was shot. This was chosen very intentionally. So in the middle of the day, it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I knew that for this bride and groom, I was going to need to find a place that was totally covered with trees to block out that harsh light, but that left enough light inside of the area to still get my great skin tones. I found the perfect spot. This is what it looks like. Don't mind the underexposure here, but this is what I found. If you find something that is covered, and I know that there is spotty light here, but I'll explain that in a minute. Covered, but that's showing a lighter background like this. Look at how the picture is peeking light through. That is still going to get me backlighting in the middle of the day, when otherwise you'd have the craziest, most harshest shadows ever. So this is like my prime, this is like the perfect spot for what these people needed. Okay, don't mind that text. I don't know who that is. I mean, I do, but. Okay, so look at the type of skin tones that you can get from shooting in this area. Also, look at where I chose to shoot. This is on a dirt path. Great for skin tones. If this was, say, on a green lawn, this would be really bad because it would reflect up at her skin green. But if you find something that is white or neutral or dirt or brown or whatever, my kids are playing downstairs for that, it's going to reflect up at her. So not only do I have this backlighting coming in, covering the top from the harsh sunlight, I also have a natural reflector that's making her look like the Virgin Mary, I swear. So I am going to start with my editing here. So I'm going to just pick up, because I'm looking at skin tones, but I'm going to stop. I mean, really, it was exposed really well. Highlights down for the dress, shadows up for the hair and things. And maybe kick those blacks down, but just a little bit. If I went too much down, it would look a little bit too clipped for me. You know, maybe just a little bit. Let's do our anti-vignette. It already was done because I did it before. It didn't erase all my settings. Anyway, anti-vignette, look at what you could do. You could pick it all the way up. Let's take down greens if they aren't already. Okay, this is how it was default shot. I took down greens on this when I edited it a little earlier. Greens and some yellows here. See, right in the back here, watch what happens when I slide this slider. I'm at yellows right now. Look at a lot yellow. I want to soften it and make it look a little bit desaturated yellow so that she just looks beautiful and soft. All right, done, donezo. Okay, let's go to the problem one. Yikes, Katie, not good, not good. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is go to my exposure. But I do not want to go too crazy up because it's just gonna look washed out. So I'm gonna go like this. And this is where my shadow trick comes into play. Shadows up, and look at what happened to their skin. I didn't like brighten the whole photo. It doesn't look like it's a washout photo, but shadows are great for skin tones because they just pick like the mids up, I bet. Rather than picking up highlights as much, they pick up the mid tones of skin. Let's go down with blacks a little bit for some contrast, but not a lot. This is still looking a little harsh for me. Let's see. Some of this is just like playing around, guys. Yeah, this is how it's going to be. The couple kind of, in my opinion, gets lost in this photo. It's just not perfect yet. So I'm going to fix that up a little bit in Photoshop. This is really what I would give them after I take down those greens. Look at those greens. They got to go. Yuck. Way better. All right. Let's do our anti-vignette. It's already there. Anyways, the reason it's already there, by the way, you guys, is because I already edited these photos a little bit earlier. And so when I went to default, I guess I didn't kick those down. Okay, so this is how I would stop. I would stop right here. But because they are lost in this photo, they just don't stand out enough from their background for my taste. So I am going to pull those into Photoshop and show you what I would do in that situation. What I was going to comment on earlier is look at how this is spotty light, okay? Spotty light. Normally, this looks just really like it would be a bad situation. But because I was photographing this way, like facing them, and I wasn't standing, say, over here where my mouse is right now. I wasn't standing here and shooting the other way. This way was giving me flat light. It was 2 o'clock. And something about where the light was, it was probably overhead and a little bit behind them, I believe. Actually, where's the light coming from? It's hard to tell. I think it was up here from behind shooting this way. So really, it was backlit. It's showing me these speckles, but the other side would have given me so many harsh shadows and dappled light. But this is really backlit, and true backlit, meaning that one side, because it is a little bit past noon, 2 o'clock, there is going to be one side that will give you even lighting if you have enough shade, and I found it. So there we go. I'll show you how to make them stand out of their background in a minute. And then lastly, here we go. Okay, so look at this, guys. Not the best settings here. Look at ISO 5000. So I do have some noise. Look at it. Not the best. Not good. But I also had my 100mm lens on. When you have a longer lens like that on, I do not like to go below 1/250th when I have this lens on, or else I'm going to get a lot of motion blur. I know the rule of thumb is that you can actually go down to 1/100th, but I have just made myself so mad because I must not be as careful as some of you guys that can go all the way down to 1/100th. So anyway, this is where I was at my settings wise, and I'm going to, though, fix this a little bit with my noise reduction. That happens on the third panel here, and I'm just going to pick up this luminance noise a little bit, just for a little bit of smoothing. If you go too much, they look like mannequins. We don't want that. That's nothing. So I can bring it in a little bit, and that's really not that bad. I am way zoomed in, so I'm at 200%. This is not what they're going to be seeing when they order these photos. It's going to look smooth, but I do like clean images, so I'm not a fan of noise, even a little. So anyway, I could leave this darker dramatic, but I am going to pick it up a little bit exposure-wise. And I'm looking at her skin. To me, that is what I'm looking at. The bride, I'm the one that I'm focusing on the bride the most. So I'm going to do that, okay? This is, I'm always doing my shadows. Look at that. Again, that brings in a lot of light. When I pick up the shadows, though, I feel like these highlights over here and her veil maybe just got a little too bright, so I'm going to pull down those a little bit. I don't want to lose the detail in her veil or even this. Blacks, I believe, are probably good where they are. Yeah, if I go down too much, it's a little too crunchy looking for me. So I'm going to leave the blacks right where they were. Look at those shadows a little bit more. And then I'm going to look at this panel and see if I like it any cooler or warmer. Sometimes you just have to try. Right now I'm at 4650, so I'm going to remember that's where I was. Yeah, like I just kind of feel like I like it pretty dang neutral, and that's just where I'm going to keep it. So maybe some people get more creative, but I just like to edit a little bit cleaner. So let's take down these greens, babies. There are greens in this, and I don't want them to be too much because it bothers me. Also yellows. When you take down greens and yellows in this particular photo, look at what happens with the couple though. They stand out. They're not competing against these so much. And absolutely we need to do our anti-vignetting in here. Otherwise it's going to be like this. And that's just a little bit, that's not my style. So it looks amazing in a lot of people's photos, but for me I like brighter. And so we will stop right there. Okay? For this one though, let's just make it into black and white. And that's easy. All right. I'm going to stop the video right now, and if you want to see what happens when I pull these into Photoshop, then you can. Otherwise, you can, sorry, how do I stop this? Otherwise, those are just my raw adjustments. That is exactly what I would give to any couple in their gallery. And then further adjustments, like what I'm going to show in my next video, are done for anybody who orders an album or a print 8x10 or larger. So that, that further perfecting is what I do for purchased prints and albums. Otherwise, those are my standard color corrections.